Yo, what is going on YouTube? I am Germ here. So today we're going to be talking about G2 esports mainly. They're coming off a really big weekend. For one, they went 2-0, which is obviously always great, especially late in the season. You know, we only have one more week left in the LEC regular season now, which is crazy. It seems like all the stuff has flown by, but it's been a ton of fun. It's been a very competitive, fun, exciting LEC split. But coming into this weekend, Rogue and G2, they were tied atop the standings. I believe the record was 11-2 for both of these teams, and you know, Rogue was playing G2, so it was a very hype weekend. It was a very hype matchup. They've both been good this regular season, and would Rogue be able to keep up with them? The answer was not really. I mean, G2 appeared to really outclass them. I mean, this was a dominating 14-4 victory where they were up like almost 10k gold when they did end it. And then G2 also played Misfits this weekend, which obviously that's not as exciting as a victory, but Misfits had been kind of hot recently. So with G2, you know, looking so good so late in the season, this has a lot of people, players, fans, coaches, analysts, people everywhere thinking about MSI. In this video today, we're going to be talking about, obviously, Rekkles giving some of his thoughts and opinions on that tournament, and then just talking about that as well, because MSI is obviously a very big thing coming up very soon, which we were deprived of last year, but we're getting it this year, so that's going to be dope. But before we get into that, I just want to mention real quick, if you have not already, please take a second and smash that like button. I'd appreciate it so much. It really helps me out the YouTube algorithm, and it's the best and easiest way to help support my channel and my content if that's something you're interested in doing. Also, subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content so you don't miss out on anything that we have going on in the future, because we're going to have a lot of awesome and exciting videos coming your way. Obviously, we have LEC playoffs, LCS playoffs, MSI, all this stuff coming up. It's going to be a great couple of weeks, great couple of months, so don't miss out. With that being said, let's get right into this. Let's see what Rekkles has to say. This is a clip, came out yesterday after the games. We'll see what Rekkles has to say about MSI and stuff. The important thing to note here, I think, a little bit is that yes, Rekkles has a ton of international experience. He's made a world final. He's played at MSIs before. He's won LEC championships. You know, he's done a lot of stuff. He hasn't won Worlds, obviously, but he hasn't won MSI either. You know, the 4 other members of G2 were on that MSI winning team. And yes, while MSI isn't as, you know, prestigious or glorious or whatever as Worlds, I think it's a little bit underrated. MSI is one of our 2 international tournaments. It is the best team from every single region competing on the world stage. Like, G2 having won that MSI tournament is a really massive deal, and I think should be celebrated more. I think MSI titles, for whatever reason, are a little underrated. Yes, I get it. They're not Worlds. It's not this big, huge tournament that's advertised and Riot throws all this money into, but it's still a really big deal. But, you know, that's just my thoughts and opinions. Let's see what Rekkles has to say about MSI.
I just feel like our chance of winning Worlds would be higher if we go MSI, even if we lose. Maybe even particularly if we lose.
So that's pretty interesting. Obviously, you know, first up, he's saying that he thinks that their chances of winning Worlds is better if they go to MSI. Obviously, yes, that makes a ton of sense. Again, this is one of your only chances to get international experience. Not only is it international stage experience, you get to go through the traveling, the practicing in hotels, the living in a different country for a while. The big thing also is not only do you get to play on stage against some of the best teams in the world, like maybe a Damwon, whatever team ends up coming out of China. I know they're very competitive right now. Also, you get to scrim against these teams for the weeks you're over there, and that is probably the most valuable thing, especially for a very veteran team like G2, who they've all played on stage internationally before. They don't need too much more stage practice or stage time or anything like that. I can't imagine they have too much nerves or anything when they go to play internationally, but getting to scrim against those teams, you can learn so much. Yes, then Worlds is so many months away, the meta is completely different, blah blah, but just the experience of traveling, of scrimming, of going to a new country, of playing an international tournament can be really good. Obviously, on the flip side, people do worry about burnout. People worry about a team having to play too many games, too few off days. You know, the G2 vacation memes are there. We've definitely heard other teams talk about burnout over the course of the season as well. I mean, even Team Liquid, just from winning the lock-in tournament, which is you know, was a much less kind of stressful tournament than something like an MSI, and earlier on in the season when you haven't already played a bunch of games, you know, they kind of talk about burnout and stuff, but yeah, he says obviously their chances of winning Worlds are better if they go to MSI, but also interestingly, he says their chances of winning Worlds might be better if they get smashed at MSI. I know, like, the meme is like, to lose is to improve, and I think there is some validity to that. Obviously, if you just go to MSI, steamroll everybody, that's good because it means you're good enough to do that. But sometimes when you lose, your weaknesses can get exposed. You can use that as motivation and stuff. But obviously, it's kind of weird hearing him say he thinks they have a better chance of winning Worlds if they get smashed at MSI.
Then our chance of winning Worlds would be higher, because we'll figure stuff out there that is harder to figure out when you're winning all the time.
And I think he has a good point there, too, because I think that might even be, hinting something at the LEC. I think that teams have said this for a while now. Even teams in the LCS, teams in the LEC, when we've had top teams like, Team Liquid the last couple of years in the LCS when they've been dominating G2 recently in the LEC, they've had a little bit of competition from Fnatic, but obviously not too much. They always talk about how when you're the best team, it's hard to improve. You're playing against a team that you expect to beat every week, every game. You're scrimming against teams that you kind of outclass in most, if not all positions. It's hard to learn too much from that because you can make mistakes, you can play poorly, and you can still win. When you do make mistakes, they're less likely to get punished. You're more likely to develop bad habits because you get away with them in scrims, in games, and you have to play against worse teams and worse players all the time and still improve. You have to really focus down. You have to be so self-critical. You have to take wins even as losses and look for every single game as an opportunity to improve, even in the playoffs. I mean, when it's got to be super hard when you're winning LEC titles at the rate of like a G2, but still having to look into look in the mirror and be like, yeah, we're not good enough. We need to get better. We could have been more clean. We could have done better. I mean, even when you win a 30-minute game, that should have been 25 minutes. A 25-minute game should have been a 20-minute game. But then getting to go internationally and just knowing, hey, if we beat a damn one, that's a great win. We must have done something right. We did something good. If we lose, hey, here's what we did, and here's how they punished it. Here's how when we do this, here's how a good team or one of the best teams in the world, how they'll respond, how they'll react. That's not something they're getting in the LEC right now. Obviously, you saw even when they played against Rogue, who a lot of people are saying is the second best team in the LEC right now, they absolutely smashed them, and it wasn't honestly that much of a game. And I think Rogue is now 0-10 all time against G2. They're not getting a lot of competition from one of the next best teams in the LEC. They played Fnatic. Obviously, they split the series with Fnatic, but that first game is kind of marred in controversy because of the internet stuff. And then in the second game, G2 just kind of rolled them over. I mean, yes, G2 has lost games this regular season, but it seems like when they've played against their rivals, when they needed to step up, they've really done it, and the games have not been that competitive.
So I wouldn't mind going to Iceland and getting smashed, actually. I think it would be a good experience. And I think it would increase our chance of winning Worlds.
So obviously just a funny quote saying I wouldn't mind going to Iceland and getting smashed. And I think that's a very, very veteran mindset because, yeah, I mean, for a lot of people, going to a tournament and getting smashed, that would be like, that would suck. That would be devastating, especially a tournament like MSI where only the one seeds are going. So you're coming fresh off an LEC title. If you're a more inexperienced player, maybe, you're feeling really good. You're like, wow, the LEC is a great league. We just won it. We must be one of the best teams in the world. Maybe we've got a shot to win MSI. Maybe we've got a shot to win Worlds. Then you go and get smashed. That could be like a huge reality check. Like, it could bring in a lot of self-doubt. It could bring in a lot of like insecurity and just a lot of like, are we really good enough? Wow, we just got smashed. How are we going to beat this team at Worlds? It could bring, like roadblocks and stuff in your mind. But obviously, Rekkles has been there, done that before. He's gone to tournaments and done very well. He's gone to tournaments and got smashed before. He's lost big games and learned from them. He's won big games and, he knows what that stuff feels like. I do think it's interesting, though, because, again, he is the only player on this team who has not won an MSI title. So I would, if anyone was going to be like, yeah, I really want to win MSI. I really want to go there and win. And again, he's not saying he doesn't want to win. He's just saying that either way, he's not going to be too upset. And either way, he thinks it's going to be an awesome, amazing experience. And I totally agree with that. And I love this mindset from Rekkles. I think he's in a very, very good place mentally. And I think it's a great sign for G2 going forward, no matter what happens. I do think it's interesting and funny that, again, people are talking this much about MSI for G2 when, one, the regular season's not even over. Two, playoffs haven't even started. But I do think, obviously, G2 has an insane roster. They have an insane track record that kind of just leads with them, winning LEC titles and going to MSI. But also them coming off that smashing of Rogue. Like, if there was any question of who was the favorite to win the LEC, I mean, that question has been answered. I think a lot of people would be shocked at this point if G2 is not able to take down the LEC title. Obviously, they've been the huge favorites the whole season, preseason. It's not like anyone was really picking against them. But now that we've gotten to see them in action, we see that Rekkles fits into his team well. We see that they don't miss perks at least that much. So yeah, pretty interesting, pretty funny, but I totally get it.
But obviously, I hope we can also win MSI while we're at it. But I'm just saying. I just feel like our chance.
So yeah, there you go. I mean, it's not like he's going to go throw MSI. It's not like he's going trying to lose on purpose. It's not like he doesn't necessarily want to win. But again, having the maturity and having the understanding to know that, yeah, I want to win. I hope to win. Obviously, he's a very competitive guy. All of G2 are a very competitive guy. And again, there's only 2 international tournaments. You don't often get chances to go try and win an international tournament in League of Legends. You don't often get chances to play against some of the best teams in the world and to prove yourself against the best teams in the world and continue to build upon your legacy, because again, guys like Rekkles, Caps, all these guys, LEC titles don't do too much for their legacy at this point. Like, yes, maybe they're setting records that will never be broken or they'll be remembered forever, and that's going to be important, but these guys are already legends. These guys are already Hall of Fame LEC players. But what can continue to build their legacy, not only in Europe, but everywhere across the world, in the West and in the whole world, is winning international tournaments and having good appearances and good play at international tournaments. Even if your team doesn't do that well, you can still impress people on the international stage. You can still go make a name for yourself. Obviously, that's very, very selfish, and that's not really what these guys are thinking. But still, like Caps wants to go show that he's one of the best mid laners in the world. Rekkles wants to go show that he's one of the best bot laners in the world. G2 wants to show and prove to people that they're one of the best teams in the world. And I think if they go and they do good in scrims and they beat people a bunch and they do really well, that'll give them a mental advantage going into Worlds as well. Like, when you beat teams, when you prove to them that you are legit, they take you a little more seriously. Maybe you stress them out a little bit, maybe you scare them a little bit, maybe you intimidate them a little bit. But I am glad that G2, at least Rekkles, if they do go and get smashed, that he's not going to be intimidated, that he's not going to feel too bad, and that they will take what they learned from MSI, probably go smack the LEC even harder in the summer split, and then hopefully be ready for Worlds, because I am very, very excited for this team. Seeing them dismantle Rogue the way they did got me so hyped up for them. I think they are an amazing team. Obviously, I think they're one of the best teams in the world. I don't think they're the world favorites or anything like that. I think Damwon is still very, very scary, but, man, it's nice to have hope in the West. It's nice to have a team that is so damn good that we head into Worlds with a chance, with an opportunity, and it's going to be a ton of fun to watch, and I can't wait. But I also am very, very hyped up and excited for MSI as well. When we take a look at the LEC standings real quick, we will see we have G2 and Rogue at the top. Again, G2 13-2. A game up on Rogue. They're 2-0 against them. It seems like G2 has all but locked in the 1 seed. We have the Super Week coming up next week, but G2 is very, very comfortably in first place. They are 4 games up on Mad Lions and Fnatic, so I mean, they're so far clear of everybody in the LEC. Third, fourth, and fifth is kind of bunched up a little bit, but then they are even distancing themselves from 6th place a little bit. So LEC standings kind of weird. Obviously a down split for Fnatic. Obviously it's tough after losing Rekkles and Nemesis and stuff, but Rogue and G2 very clearly the top 2 teams in Europe right now, and G2 proving that they're even a class above Rogue this weekend, which I think is interesting. But that is pretty much it for this video today, guys. Definitely drop a like if you enjoyed it. Leave a comment down below. What do you think about this whole situation? Do you think G2 is going to be able to win MSI? Do you agree with Rekkles that losing can be good, or do you think that if they lose, that's a bad sign? It means that they're not as good as maybe some people think they are. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Subscribe to stay up to date on all my latest content. Hopefully I catch you guys in the next one. But until then, peace.